Yahoo, Mina! Hoo boy, this is gonna be a review. Tales of Phantasia was originally released for the Super Famicom in late 1994, but remastered by Namco in 1998 for the PlayStation, but only in Japan, and it's this remaster that I'll be reviewing here. But much of what I have to say applies to all releases of the game. Tales of Phantasia was the first in the Tales series of games, and sees you advance the party in traditional JRPG form. I think if you're watching this channel, you may understand what that entails, and so rather than dryly listing out all of the mechanics and reading out the features, I want to try and distill how it felt to play through this game, as naturally I have completed it before reviewing it. But first, the story. Phantasia begins with 4 warriors handing it to an unnamed character. The shadowy apparent villain, who we later learn is Dhaos, narrowly manages to escape using time travel, only to be confronted by the descendants of the 4 warriors we just saw fighting him. They seal him away with the power of 2 pendants, and the battle that has lasted generations is over. But just who is Dhaos? Over 10 years have passed. Enter 17-year-old Cless who, after a short chat with his father, agrees they'll talk at dinner time about the pendant he was gifted on his 15th birthday. Could it be that Cless and his father Miguel have a connection to the warriors? Well, of course. We also learn that Cless's mother is recovering from an illness. Oh, and by the way, I'm calling Cless Cless because that's how his name is romanized in the manual, but Cress is also an accepted reading of his name. It's at this point that Cless's closest friend Chester arrives to go hunting. We also discover that Chester's sister, Ami, seems to have something of an affection for Cless. Whilst the pair are hunting in the woodlands of Yggdrasil, which is rendered in katakana as Yggdrasil, Martel, the protector of the dead mana tree, begs Cless not to hurt it. Suddenly, the screen reveals a tree in the full flush of vitality before cutting back to its dead state, and the wild boar they are hunting appears. After slaying the boar, suddenly the village's emergency bell rings out, and on returning to the village, they discover it has been laid waste by something or someone. Chester's sister, Ami, is dead, as is Cless's family. It's a bit sudden, but it's not without some impact. Cless sets off in search of his uncle, whilst Chester vows revenge on his slain family. From here, the story unfolds to discover the truth behind the shadowy figure of Dhaos and his motives, and ultimately the truth behind the depleted mana tree. Across time, no not to the depth and flexibility of Chrono Trigger, you will unfurl the story and bring down Dhaos, though the game will bring up the ultimate question: what are you fighting for, and why? I won't spoil it for you. For me, I felt like the story made a bit more sense to the recurring theme of mana and magic in RPGs, even though it was treading well-worn territory. The very best RPGs in my book are the ones that as you complete it, you feel bereft as you say goodbye to a party of characters who you have grown close to emotionally and for whom you feel a great deal of affinity for. For me, 2 games stand out in this regard: Chrono Trigger and Grandia. I've played plenty of good RPGs over the years that in terms of mechanics and gameplay are sound, but the story and characterization is just as important for me. With the story is a beautiful soundtrack, such as during the final encounter with Dhaos in the 3rd battle, where the track opens with a symphony to make hairs stand up on the back of your neck. I was totally immersed in the game. Phantasia, however, straddles something I often have a problem with in RPGs. First, it has the main character problem, where Cless seems completely devoid of any doubt in his actions until the very end. But until then, he powers through to the end unwavering and also ends up a bit vanilla. Remember, he is essentially still a kid that has lost his family, with it seemingly not having much of a lasting impact on him, beyond powering on to destroy the force that laid waste to his family and village. Other characters, however, feel much more fleshed out, and particularly with Arch and Suzu, with the former being so adorable, with touching moments and hilarity aplenty. The moment where Arch confused the corroded cave with being a new cafeteria was a laugh-out-loud moment. You may ask, how did Arch get confused? Well, it's a Japanese joke based on wordplay, as a great deal of Japanese humour is derived from homonyms, words that sound the same but have different meanings. Japanese has an absolute ton of these, known as doon igo, and it so happens corroded cave, shinshokudo, is also the same way you could say new cafeteria, Shinshokudo. What ensues is just too funny, and the game has plenty of these whimsical moments, such as everyone egging Cless on at one point in the quest for Revolt, or the scenes in the onsen in the ninja village leader's home. However, there's no crazy language as appears on the DJAP Super Famicom translation, where Clark asks Cless who he prefers, Arch or Mint. Yes, there is plenty of mild romantic tension in the original Japanese dialogue, but no references to tigers and so forth. I'm not a fan of how the DJAP translation turned out, but some might find it funny, I guess. If you don't know what I'm referring to, see the video description. Phantasia's world is deep and rich, and it maintains the majority of its 2D pixel art style. This is an example of a remaster that absolutely shines on a PlayStation, leveraging its power in such a wonderful way. It's up there as Symphony of the Night visually, reflections and ripples and a richness of colour. Phantasia also leverages the 3D power of the platform for the special techniques, but I'll get to that in a moment. The overworld in this remaster is rendered in 3D, and whilst not as rich as the pixel art, it has aged fairly well, and it still all hangs together really well. For me, Phantasia is one of the most visually underrated PlayStation games, and is a big step up on the already beautiful Super Famicom version, and much nicer than the GBA version. Mechanically, the game is as deep as an ocean, with clever dungeon design with some fantastic puzzles, an inventory that remains tight but also expansive, with room bottles to transform items, stat boosts, food items for health and TP restoration via the cooking mechanic, all wrapped up into a largely well-balanced, if at times relatively high encounter rate RPG, though this can be controlled with holy bottles. And did I mention that Arch ends up in a shoot 'em up? This is actually a good time to bring up another weakness. The game's manual. It doesn't even contain the story, it goes slammed straight into the gameplay, with some character profiles at the rear. Also, it's fairly scant on item descriptions, relying on you to read the in-game text for this. So I feel the manual is a bit lacking on the PlayStation version, though it does contain the essentials. The biggest weakness in this game is the battle system, in which you only have direct control over Cless, whereas AI controls the other 3 party members when you don't intervene. And even then, if you don't find a technical ring, Cless will spend a lot of time running into battle and back again, and battles are completely stopped when a special technique is enacted by your party members, meaning the battles have a very stop-start feel to them. You do have some control over your partners. You can set an overall special technique use strategy, such as them not using it at all, conserving TP, or going all out, and you can instruct them to use a specific special technique. But left to their own devices, they do a fair job, though when Clark was vainly using F3 on Dhaos, when left to his own devices was, well, it was a choice. You're going to have to be patient to enjoy the battles in Phantasia, and if you can, the rest of the game is a real adventure. This is not to say that the battle system isn't well thought out. For example, a double tap on L1 will reverse your so-called taidetsu, or the order of your players in the battlefield. To rate this game, it comes down to my reaction of how I felt when I finished the game. Did it all feel worth it? Did I feel the tugging of the heartstrings? I did, and it wasn't because of what was explicitly said in the story, or indeed what was on screen, but the feeling I had from the adventure. I had a feeling that I didn't feel with the first Golden Sun on the Game Boy Advance or Breath of Fire on the Super Famicom. There was a real sense of sadness as the party members went their separate ways through time. It's not the best story, and it does have flaws, but this is a very good game despite the challenges with its battle system, and a really underrated title on the PlayStation. Japanese language-wise, this is a fluent level Japanese game. You'll really need to be around JLPT N2 at the very least, as there is an extensive kanji used in this game, though grammatically it's not too tough, and most text in game can be moved on at your own pace. It's only at the very end where the dialogue advances automatically. Non-speakers of the language will have a tough time with this one, but there is a translation patch linked in the video description, and I would personally play this over the Super Famicom version, as you can actually recruit an optional character, the Ninja Suzu. It just feels a more authoritative version. There are of course the other versions on GBA or PSP, but I can't speak to those. There's a reason I love longer games like this. It's because of the journey, the sense of progression, and I'll be honest, I love the heartbreak at the end, because I can look back on all the funny and touching moments in the game and feel a sense of accomplishment, like finishing a book that you have really enjoyed and feeling a sense of accomplishment and resolution. Phantasia has plenty of that. This is a great game that's not for everyone, but if you're patient and can overlook the flaws, you're in for a treat. As always, like, subscribe and all of that shit, and also check out this rad Rubbish Heap merch, available worldwide on Redbubble and Amazon. See the links below for how to purchase. I've been Saki Endo, and this has been a Rubbish Heap. じゃあねーね。見つけて Your dream どこへ伝説が始まる。
プレイステーションナムコテイルズ・オブ・ファンタジア。